Well, we go for a little drive. We get back and we're unloading the groceries out of the back, and the kids noticed and I noticed fuel smell. And we had parked by our pressure washer, and I was thinking maybe it was the pressure washer. So we moved the vehicle after we unloaded it, and the smell stayed there. Then we went driving around the next day, and sure enough, while we're driving it, we could smell fuel inside the cabin. No fuel has dripped on the ground that we have noticed. But after we did some research under the VIN, there is an open recall that Land Rover did for the LR4, where they call it a plastic flange cracks and leaks fuel. I'll put the bulletin number and the description up on the screen here. So I could get this taken care of at the dealership. Now, am I going to? No. The part I found for like $175. I also ordered a new O-ring. The part doesn't come with an O-ring. I will show you the part, but basically we got to drop the fuel tank down, and we're going to see if we can identify exactly where it's leaking, but we're going to replace that fuel. It's actually a fuel filter, intake fuel filter that leaks, and it's also where the pump pulls the fuel out of the tank. So I will show it as detailed as possible, but yes, you can take this to Land Rover and get it fixed. No charge to you. Bought the part from Land Rover, and I'll install it, show how to do it, and yeah, that's what we're gonna do here. So Luke's down here helping me. We're gonna get this thing up on jack stands and get started. All right, guys, figure I'll show you the part that I ordered. So this is the company I ordered from. Most of my Land Rover parts come from there because they have pretty good prices for OEM parts. I don't get a discount. I don't get a sponsor. I'd love to, but yeah. So this is the gasket, or the O-ring seal. Then you can see the part number. So you need one of those. I'm hoping I don't need anything else. And then this is part number for the actual flange. We'll compare it to the old one, but here it is. And then we can verify that part number is the same right there. But yeah, this sits, there's a locking ring that goes on here and it seals it down. Couple electrical connectors, because I think, and then the funny thing is, I believe all they did to update it, everything's the same, except they added this little bridge here, because these are prone to crack down in this valley here. So what they found is if they just added this bridge, that seemed to correct the problem. So something silly. Comes with a new connector here, so we'll have to pull the old one off the hose. And then a couple electrical connectors. But that's it. It's kind of ridiculous. This is like just a filter assembly with some different sensors and lines that go in and out of it. So that's it. 2 pieces. Hopefully that's all we need for this job. And we'll get this thing back up and ready to roll. All right, let's get under there and see what we got to tear off. All right, so we're underneath the car. And we see the fuel tank here. It's going to be on the right-hand side of the vehicle. Right, here's your drive shaft. Here's your transfer case. The front of the vehicle is pointing that way. And this is what we're going to have to drop down to work on this. You should have a heat shield here. The heat protects the drive line and the fuel tank from the exhaust. So you're going to just take a number 10 and zip the screws that hold it on. There's some along the fuel tank all the way down, and then some on the floorboard. So that's the first thing we're going to do, is take that off, and then I'll show you what other bolts we need to take off. That'll lower this. You're going to need a jack. I'm going to probably use my transmission jack. It has a flat surface. It'll sit underneath there, and then we'll just slowly lower it down and see how we can get to it. good. Go back in a little bit. There you go. Okay. Back in a little bit. Good. And go for it. We have our jack underneath here. All the bolts are out. The jack's supporting it. What you're going to want to do, there's a cable coming down. And you're going to want to just disconnect it from the fuel tank and just follow it along and all the way down the drive line to where you can disconnect it from there. You can see where it hooks into on the frame, so you slide that out on your gas tank frame. So now we're just going to slowly let it down. It's dropped about an inch or two already, so all right, we're going to keep going. Okay, so before you drop it down, you're going to want to remove your filler neck, which is nice and easy. You take this one had just a number 7 nut driver to take the hose clamp off, and it slid right off from the neck of the fuel tank. So, and then you also want on the front of the tank, you'll have 2 hoses that you'll disconnect. They fit into that. One is right in front of your fuel tank, and the other one clips onto your side of your transmission. So you'll see them under there. But once I pull it out, I'll be able to show you guys a little better. But yeah, 2 fuel lines there. There's going to be some electrical, but once we drop it down, we should be able to reach the electrical. All right, once you get it lowered down, you're going to want to, as you lower it down, there's these 3 lines here. You're going to want to pop it out of these guides. And there's a plastic clip that goes on these. Pop the plastic clip off, save it, and then the lines will come out. It'll give you some flex. It'll lower it down. And same with the engine harness, or the electrical harness. You'll have some clips here like that you'll just unclip to allow the tank to set. So it's sitting on the ground for us. And then you have an electrical connector to unplug there. And it's the bottom of that electrical connector that you'll have to release to get it to pull up. So I just use a small flat blade screwdriver to reach under there to allow me to release it. And then you'll disconnect this hose that goes to the back just by squeezing. Just by squeezing right here. You'll disconnect that one. The big hose, it's just like the PCV hoses on the engine. You just squeeze the plastic ends and work it up. And then there's a 3rd line up at the front right there that you'll disconnect. So if you get that one disconnected, that's the 3 that you need, and you can lift those up out of the way. All right, we got the fuel tank slid out. This is actually fairly easy. I pulled the fuel tank out on our Cadillac Escalade 2007, and that was a lot more work. This one's fairly easy. So as we were taking it down, we're looking for areas that might be signs of leakage. We didn't see anything back by the filler neck. Then we come down here, and this is where I was looking for. This kind of, you can see the buildup. So fuel will evaporate fairly quickly, but we have dust, and that's going to collect that in that wet fuel. So it's not a bad leak to where I've seen some where it's spraying out of here, out of the leak, or actually leaking on the ground. Maybe if we let it sit for much longer, it could be turn into that. But yeah, you can see this is a residue, so we can be confident it's either leaking maybe from right here, because this is the only clean spot, and this is usually the crack. It might even be, yeah, I think I might be able to see. Let's see if I can focus on it. Zoom in. You can actually see the crack. It goes from right there and back. So that's kind of cool. Didn't expect to see that. So you can see how it doesn't have that extra bridge. Once we pull it out, we'll set them next side by side, but it's clean right here. So the fuel's cleaning it, and then it's kind of dispersing. So pretty slick. So we're gonna clean this off before we even attempt to take it off, and then we'll put them side by side. And then we'll swap it out. This is going fairly good. It's like a half-a-day project or less. You know, it always takes longer when we're filming, but thank goodness I got Luke down here helping. It makes it a little easier. But let's get this cleaned up, and we'll show you what we got to do next. Okay, so now that we got it cleaned up, we disconnected this. You just squeeze these green clips together and pull back. It'll come out from here. And then all you gotta do, sorry, I can't see. We'll just, okay, once you got it broke loose, you're just gonna carefully, see there's even more stuff underneath it. So we'll just kind of wipe it off so we try not to push anything into the tank. So we can tell that they orientate it like this, so we'll make sure the other one goes in the same way. We should be able to pull it up. And you're gonna have connectors on there and a hose, so.
Do you have to submerge the other one to fill it up with fuel? Okay.
And then this one, get your fingers in there, squeeze it, and pull it out. And there we go. All right, we got both of them side by side now. And this is the new one, obviously. It comes with the new clips, so we'll just pull the old green clip off the hose so this one can and attach this one. But you can see, like I was saying, the addition of that little bridge there is their fix, so it kind of reinforced it, and that is where the crack was. Some other differences you can see, just some casting differences. This is missing on the new one, but overall it's pretty much the same, just that little extra bridge. So we'll get this swapped out, and hopefully that fixes our fuel leak. All right, we got everything cleaned up. Took our time. That groove, once you pull the old O-ring out, that's this one here. Once you pull that out, there's a lot of debris and stuff in there. So we just carefully pulled the stuff out. Try not to let anything fall in there. We got our new filter, or flange, or whatever Land Rover wants to call it. So you'll take this little green thing off. So that slides off, that just keeps that clean. And then we have to get our hose up and take this green piece off. So if you just fold it back on it, it should release it. Perfect. So then your new hose will slide right into that. I'll just leave it on there until we get everything lined up. Okay. So then we're gonna want to get all our electrical connections on. 1, 2, 3. So I forgot where that is. It's on the bottom. So probably could put the hardest one on, this plastic one. That'll lock on. And then this one goes in there. Okay, make sure everything gets locked in. This is kind of like the ground on the bottom. He's only going one way. So then this one I didn't need to unplug. We'll pull it up off the bottom of the tank. It's right there. Okay, then we get our bottom piece. Okay, carefully orient it. Make sure it locks on. And if you remember, this was oriented right there. So that's everything's connected. So now we put our locking ring on and we'll connect our hose. All right, guys, so we're getting ready to put our ring on. We're putting it back the way we pulled it off. So if we paid attention, this obviously fit right here. That was what orientation it was on. And then we have a stud coming off our flange. When we took it off, we noted that it was right here. So once it's locked in, it's actually just sits about right here. So I think the electrical harness clips onto that, so that might stabilize that electrical harness. So you do want it in the right spot. All right, we're gonna hammer this on and then we'll start sliding this underneath the car. All right, we got the tank under the car. It's on our jack, transmission jack. We got the 2x10 underneath it to kind of distribute the weight and stabilize it. But you can see everything's connected. We anchored the harness onto that stud. Made sure everything's nice and tight, feels good. Everything's routed up along to the front. So once we raise it up, we'll slowly line these connections up into the holders, and then we'll attach that fill hose back there. So we're gonna go ahead and slowly jack it up. All right, guys, we got all the bolts back in and mounted. So we are back together. We made sure and got our connections all along the fuel tank in their channels. Nothing got pinched. We don't have the heat shield on yet because we're leaving it off. What we found is after doing this, that if you can see that light up there, the support bearing bushing is shot on this. So we're gonna swap out we have a spare one. We're gonna swap this driveline out. That'll be a different video. We also got our filler neck attached. You can see that there, slid on there nicely. Clamp tightened up, so the fuel tank job is done, other than filling it up and taking it for a test drive. But I'm pretty confident in this one. This was actually really easy. I think it took Luke and I, with recording it, probably 4 hours, maybe 3 or 4. We'll kind of write it down. We started, what did we start, 4:30?
Yeah.
We started at 4:30 this afternoon, and it's now 7:30. So that's actually 3 hours, and that's us recording, which kind of slows things down. But yeah, we're all connected. Everything's in its spot, and we're ready to go. The only thing we're missing is the heat shield. But we're leaving that off because tomorrow we're going to be swapping out this driveline, and we'll do a different video on that. So I want to thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.